Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. It's Tuesday, the 17th day of March 2026, and thank you for starting your day and morning with us. My name is Anolu Akpo Ido.
And I am Samson Balogun. We are glad you could join us this morning as we take you through the conversation shaping the day.
Actually, we begin this morning with a developing story around security concerns at the Akure Airport. The Nigeria Police Force encountered claims by the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, stating that individuals recently arrested in connection with alleged kidnapping activities were actually logistics suppliers to the suspect and not bandits. The development raises important questions about investigation processes and communication among security and aviation authorities.
All right, after our opening conversation, we will bring you the weather report to help you plan your day, followed by Daybreak News, where we'll take you through the major national and international stories making headlines this morning.
Then it's on to newspaper headlines and analysis, where we'll review the stories dominating the front pages and unpack the issues behind them. Joining us for that conversation is Oluwaseun Oluwole, aviation instructor and public affairs analyst this morning.
All right, later in the program, we'll turn to the big story. Defection politics. Will long-standing APC members lose out to new power brokers? With shifting political alliances becoming increasingly common, we examine the implications for party structure and internal power dynamics. Helping us unpack that discussion is Honorable Molaja Olaoye, APC chieftain and public affairs analyst.
And as always, we will wrap up with Trend Watch, tracking the conversations making waves across social and civic spaces.
All right, this is Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Stay with us.
It is this morning. Good morning to you, Samson.
A beautiful morning to you, Hanolu Akbo.
Yes.
Glad to be back here on the same table with you to discuss major stories shaping discourse across the country this morning. And we're talking about the Federal Airport Authority and, of course, the police. For me, going through that story, I feel like a lot is going on of course, in the security system in the country. And the most important thing to do is to communicate. And when you communicate well, because that is the bedrock of strong security architecture in the country. Otherwise, everyone will be, everywhere will be in shambles, and then you won't even know where to turn to and what to do per time. Unfortunately, the police command in Ondo State says these four suspects arrested at Akure Airport in Ondo are not bandits, but logistics suppliers. I mean, how do you say, I mean, the park of a match is just a park and not match itself? Well, regardless, they have a connection, they have a role to play in these heinous acts being perpetrated across the country. So it is safe to say that they are also part of the whole system. But then, you know, a lot is going on in the country right now. And I think for every security apparatus in the country, everyone has to be on the same table.
I guess, well, like you mentioned too, it's very unbecoming, really. If you have to think about how this unfolded, especially, you know, I was saying in like I usually say for jokes, I say, what's the difference between this and that? It's right. Just is and not. And in this sense, if I want to say this is something, I can as well face another person and say that is something. I'm talking about something. It's still the same case. Yoruba would say, I really cannot, I don't want to interpret that. But yes, it's more like there's no difference between this and that. So you can also imagine how that, if you say it was 4 bandits and some said they were not bandits, they were just suppliers, they were bandit enablers. So what do you call them? Maybe another name, you can maybe generate another name. But, you know, I'm going to start off from that conversation to say there are key issues about these discrepancies in their message and communication still shows that the security architecture in the country requires a lot of education, a lot of training, a lot of retraining, a lot. I mean, so that's one. The second point is this: there seems to be an institutional discord, disharmony between those. Because if FAN says we got this number, these people, and then another police force came out to say, you know what, they were not bandits, they were just enablers. And so you want to ask the question, what happened to the preliminary investigation that should have been conducted by both parties? I mean, this should be it shows that there's an institutional disharmony between them. The institution of FAN is not in alignment, not in accordance with the police. Because if you have that situation, I mean, you can even save them to say, okay, based on preliminary investigations and maybe subsequent investigations, we discovered what was released by FAN is not true, and then this is not, you know, there's a way to communicate, right? You said it. If there's anything to say, there's a way to say it, right? And so you can make it sound like, yes, based on our advanced interrogation, investigation, we discovered. Not that what they said is, you are coming to refute a claim, to say what they said is wrong, and you understand that, but I know this is the case. Now, just last week, I think this is the genesis of this issue, and I'll draw points from what happened. There was a particular conference, a fireside chat with the governor of Ondo State, Lucky Ayedatiwa, and then he was mentioning that there are no bandits. In fact, he said it in the state, he said it categorically that he can assure people that except for that Owo massacre that happened then, there was no any other situation. But we have seen cases where there are protests in Ondo State. A lot of people are saying there are claims of bandits entering and some killing people. But he went on to say, there's no bandit. And then he was making reference to the police report to say the police can tell you better that there is no. So this sounds to me like, okay, yes, there's been claims about banditry in the state. Right. Police is coming out to say, you know what, there's no bandit, because we are aligning with what the governor said. Because maybe that's what the report they even gave the governor in the first place, to say there's no bandits. Maybe we can accept that. How about the fact that if you have this kind of context between FAN saying there, so FAN is trying to make it saying like, oh yes, we captured bandits, and then the police is saying that those were not bandits. So everybody is trying to raise, it's like an institutional fight where everybody is trying to make a point to say we did something very vital. And then we've been able to, so I just wanted to speak to that issue to say there's a fragmental security engagement between them. There's a fragmental security communication, right, especially to the public. Because at the end of the day, who gets the brunt of this? The people in the state and every other place that will be coming, because everybody's scared that, oh, bandits at the airports, and you can imagine a lot of things and reasons why people will be afraid, because you've said there is bandits, some said there's bandits, another authority came to say, oh no, they were not bandits, they were just an enabler. So we can't really find the difference between these people that you are calling. But I just want to say that this strategic concern is really something we should look into, because we understand that public trust, you can trust, especially, like I would say, trust is gained in trickles, in drops, but it is lost in buckets. You cannot imagine how much of trust can be eroded just because of your statement. So maybe our institutions need to understand that for every pronouncement, for every statement, there has to be a repercussion. There's even something we call unintended consequence. So if you say, if we have a disconnected bodies in the state that are supposed to be protecting or managing a place, manning a place, and then they come out to release different reports, who do you believe? It's a case for Nigerians to say, so how do we now trust these people? So if another day, another incident comes and then they say this, so we are going to wait for police to make another refute, to say, oh, that did not happen, or that did happen. But this really shows that the security architecture in the country needs a lot of restructuring in terms of communication, teaching, maybe revamping as it is. That's one. And then again, why can we not have it more coordinated? Well, let's have the institutions work together, because that's how big. There's a saying, Yoruba would say that if we put our hands together, then we can use it to bang our chest to say, okay, everybody's on this, and then we can work things out. So, but if you have a disconnected body to say everybody's trying to make a claim, everybody's trying to protect their institution, because like I was saying, this is an institutional fight much more than the narrative. So the airport authority would like to say our security is tight, we got bandits. The police would like to say, don't spoil our work. There's no bandits in this state. We are doing our work. So there's no, so that's exactly my claim.
You see, I think this also has to do with, credit for what is being done. Sometimes when you don't want to share the glory, you don't want to share the credit with someone else, you usually make some statements that makes it feel like, yes, see, it is my doing. However, I think Ondo State has witnessed and faced a lot of sporadic attack of bandits in recent times, including kidnapping. But is it safe to say that Ondo State is not traditionally a banditry hotspot in the country like you have in Zamfara, Sokoto, and Katsina, and some other places, including Borno, where insurgency is really, they are really facing a lot of attacks from insurgents in that part of the country. But let's talk about what this could mean for security agencies in the country, because oftentimes we talk about how it happened, but then what will be the long implication of everything that is being said and done at this time? This could cause interagency communication failure, Okay, and it's already happening because FAN is an agency. Of course, you also can tell that the police is also a body on its own. In fact, it is arguably the primary security network in the country. So definitely there will be a discord when it comes to taking credit for the arrest that was made. But don't forget that even with FAN, okay, police officers also work with the Federal Airport Authority. So automatically, I don't see where this bad energy is coming from. It should be, a kind of responsibility that is shared. We get intel, we pass it to you, you act upon that, and then you nip it in the bud, arrest, criminals, and then you display them, probably, get a press conference done, and then you tell Nigerians that this is exactly what we have been able to do. But unfortunately, there has been this back and forth, and I can tell that this is coming off the back of who takes the credit for what has been achieved in terms of security. Also, let's talk about intelligence gathering and dissemination of dissemination gap. At this time, I think one more thing that will happen is that when FAN gets intel, it might be difficult for them to pass it across to the police. They would want to act up on their own, thinking, oh, even if we get this across to the police, we won't get the kind of credit we deserve. And this might be a problem in the long term, because what if you get a kind of intel that you cannot handle internally? Who do you call? It's the police. And if the police cannot handle it, if it's becoming an external aggression on the sovereignty of the country, then the Nigerian army is called upon to act upon that. That is the chain of command when it comes to security. Internal security is handled by the police. And then when there is a form of external aggression, the Nigerian army takes over. But then what happens is intel is passed down through the chain of command. And that is where we are also talking about state policing. If we have state police in the country, it starts from the grassroots, from the local government level. Oh, there's an intel that also people are trying to gather, and that there's going to be, chaos, and we don't want that to happen. Then you pass that to the police. And then the IG feels like, oh, we cannot handle this. Then the NSA gets an information and then disseminates information to the Nigerian army, and everyone acts upon that. And of course, order is restored back to the nation called Nigeria. But then the dissemination gap was obvious in what we just saw in the dispute between the police and, of course, the FAN, Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, because there was a gap. If there was proper communication between these two agencies, I don't think they would issue different statements. In fact, there will be a unified statement that will be released on both their pages, and then we'll know that it was a coordinated mission. And then FAN gave us intel, and then we're able to sweep in and then get it sorted. But unfortunately, the seed of discord that has been planted a long time ago is still germinating and is growing. And you can set the nation on fire if no one actually nips this in the bud as soon as possible. Now, this has disrupted the chain of command in the security apparatus of Nigeria. Okay, FAN came out, released a different press statement. Police also did the same. However, this should be passed down to police and then to the IG and definitely to the presidency if need be. The presidency may also talk about it and say, look, we did this yesterday. Kudos to the FAN and, of course, the Nigerian Police Force for coming, sweeping in and then making sure that we do not have further catastrophe on our hands in the country. Unfortunately, that has been spoiled by, everybody trying to be the hero of the day. We did this, we did that. I mean, when the situation is as dire as that of what we have in Nigeria, what matters is not the credit. What matters is that it is done. Because eventually, if that attack was carried out, if the bandits got their supplies, your family members might even be part of that region where they are to attack. And then, who does credit help at that time? When you cannot even save your own family members. Exactly. When you had the opportunity to do it. So, there are processes to these things. And we should not get carried away by trying to take credit when larger security crisis still looms in the country, because we have seen it happen before. And the bureaucratic bottleneck that has to do with assignments being carried out in the country really should be removed. The president has done a lot when it comes to breaking down bureaucracy in some areas, especially when it comes to the forex floating the naira, making the market forces determine how much the naira is. And that is one. Two, making sure that, yes, petrol might be a little bit scarce, might be a little bit expensive, but it's not scarce. You can find it anywhere. Walk into any filling station, you will buy it. The only thing is, it might be expensive. That, for me, is one of the things we want to see. We don't want to queue in the filling stations, but then we want to make sure that this good, no matter how expensive it is available. When it is available, we can now talk about price. So bottlenecks should also be removed in the area of security, in the security setup of the country too. We shouldn't have issues where one agency wouldn't want to work with the other when lives and properties are at risk. So let's just make sure that everything is as simple as possible, as simple as ABC. Because if we have to think too much to save lives, then what exactly are we doing? I mean, it might just eventually be a mess.
Let me catch up with you on your thoughts. You know, when you mentioned that, especially with the discord between them, the communication and how it has been even in the past and all of that. So I wanted to come in from this angle to say, maybe there could be different ways to look at this. Some would say that maybe FAN was just too spontaneous. Maybe they were just in a hurry. They were possessed by ambition just to speak. Because they did not give the available opportunity for them to do proper investigation before coming out to speak. Maybe that's one. But how about the fact that what if they had waited for the police to come out with the report? That incident happened some days before the report of the police came out. So we can say that, must we wait to get such information out? Must we wait that long? Because that can be the conversation. Because if the police is blaming them to say, you guys did not wait till we finished investigation, you went on to release this, we should have been abreast of this. But how long should it be before we get a report? That could be the line of argument for FAN to say, we know your bureaucratic system is always too long, so we don't want to go through the process. We just want to disseminate the information as fast as we can, which is, of course, a valid point from them. But, you know, all of this too, I was trying to check, so why is it very important that Ondo State must be very, very intentional about security? We understand Ondo shares borders with Kogi State. Kogi State, for one, is actually closer to the north. And of course, we can say that from what we've seen the recent crisis in Kogi, even not recent, of course, we've had issues. So we can say there are claims that insurgents are moving from those regions down to Ondo. For one, there are many things in Ondo that they are looking for too, because some have also said there's an ideological banditry system that is run in the country. They are looking for places with natural resources, with resources that they can take over and then, barricade the area and start, mining all of those things. So we see this limestone, there's oil, there's a lot of things in Ondo State for one. So we can say, okay, maybe that's why it is very important to them. There's also fishing, there's agriculture too. At some point, they were the largest producer of cocoa in the country. So we can tell that Ondo State has so many things to offer. So we would not be surprised if there are chances or plans to infiltrate the state and get some of those resources, take over those regions like they used to, and then start exploiting those resources even when everybody's not getting a brief of that. But yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. But to take it a step further now, to say, sometimes when we have issues like this, I ask the question, so who bells the cat? Who is supposed to be responsible for this misdemeanor? Who is supposed to be responsible for this miscommunication? Can we have it? Because I know, again,
someone should take responsibility.
Someone should take responsibility. Oh, it was the police fault. We did not get the information on time. Oh, fine, we are not supposed to give out this information. And that, I'm not saying that will solve the situation, but that would curb subsequent issues. We can always have issues, right? I know conflict exists because there's a word called conflict resolution. That's why if there's no conflict, there's no conflict resolution, right? So we can look out for ways to, okay, so there's a problem. There's an imminent problem. How do we solve it? That's more important. And like you said, people's lives are in danger. To say bandits exist or bandit does not exist is not really all that matters. Can we beef up security in certain areas and ensure that those places are really well secured? And again, lastly, let me just say that there's also that conversation of how the distance of that place that happened, Elewo, I can't remember the name of the place, and then there's a point to say, okay, I think it happened at Eleyewo or something. I can't really pronounce that well. And it's about 3 kilometers away from the airport. Yeah. So that's the conversation to say, what exactly defines the border or the perimeter of the airport? To say, because this can be, why they are saying this is because if a security breach happens at the airport, then it tells a lot of story, because that's supposed to be a very secure. Because that's why
they have to be on high alert.
Exactly, because just a security breach, for example, God forbid, someone can plant a bomb inside a plane, right? And that's disaster in numbers. You have to count the number of persons that will be involved in that. That's crazy. You can also, if someone carries a bomb and throws it maybe somewhere in the air, or find a way to do that, and that can be a problem for a national security problem, right? So we can tackle these things, especially at the airport level. We should not have these kind of issues again.
Well, it's unfortunately it has happened, and I do hope that the government corrects all of this. And shortly before we go in 30 seconds, before the reason I said that the seed of discord was planted a long time ago was before 1976. The police used to have a very strong intelligence unit called the Special Branch at that time, but because of the attempted coup, of course, in Nigeria, that got some people killed. The Nigerian military decided not to trust them with internal intelligence, covert subversion, and political surveillance at that time. So, the Olusegun Obasanjo administration created what now evolved into the DSS and the SSS now. So you might want to call them police, but they are not. They are for intelligence and, of course, for major things we might not even discuss. But basically, that was when this issue, the whole issue began. But then we can go on and talk about why it happened. But then what do we do after it has all happened? That's the big question. And I think, just like I said earlier, the bottlenecks surrounding security agencies in the country should be removed. The bureaucracy should be stopped now before it becomes a major problem. And I think that is why we have not really solved the major security crisis battling Nigeria till now. And if all that is done and sorted, I think from there we can move ahead and say, yes, we now have a country not riddled with security challenges. Away from there, let's help you plan your day this morning. It's still Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television, but it is time to take weather reports. And we'll be starting with the ancient metropolitan city of hospitality, Ibadan. What does the weather say in Ibadan today? As we speak, weather in Ibadan Southwest is currently at 31 degrees Celsius, but it will not be far off later in the morning as it drops slightly to 30 degrees Celsius, while it is mostly cloudy. And of course, humidity will be around 6%. By afternoon, it rises to 34 degrees Celsius, a promise of a few showers here and there in some places in Ibadan. And of course, humidity rises sharp to 33 degrees Celsius. But there will be a drop to 28 degrees Celsius in the evening. The weather will be clear, zero chance of humidity. And overnight, it drops further to 25 degrees Celsius while being cloudy with humidity at 3% right there in Ibadan today.
And 117 kilometers away from where you are in Ibadan to Lagos, weather is almost the same across board at 33 degrees Celsius. And in the morning, it starts with a promise of showers in Lagos State at 30 degrees Celsius with a promise of humidity of about 41%, which shows that if you're going to Lagos this morning, you might as well get your umbrella, except if you want to stay indoors anyway. In the afternoon part of the day, the weather would increase by just 1 degree Celsius to 31 degrees Celsius, and it will become partly cloudy still, so there's still a chance at 22% humidity right there in Lagos State. And in the evening, it drops to 29 degrees Celsius, not so much of a drop, it's just about 2 degrees Celsius drop to 29 to become partly cloudy, and it remains cloudy overnight at 28 degrees Celsius with just 1 degree Celsius drop to 28 overnight in Lagos State today.
All right, not so much difference from Lagos is Abeokuta in Ogun State this morning. Weather in Abeokuta as we speak, it will be at an average of 27 degrees Celsius all through the day, but right now it's around 32 degrees Celsius. It drops a little to 31 degrees Celsius later in the morning. It will be mostly cloudy with humidity around 6%. By afternoon, it rises to 33 degrees Celsius, remaining mostly cloudy with humidity at 24%. There will be a drop to 28 degrees Celsius in the evening. It will be partly cloudy, zero chance of humidity. And overnight, it drops further to 25 degrees Celsius, while being mostly cloudy with humidity at 3% right there in Abeokuta, Ogun State today.
And from Abeokuta now, still in southwest states, of course, this is Ekiti Southwest. In Ekiti State, the weather feels cloudy at 24 degrees Celsius across board. And in the morning, it starts at 29 degrees Celsius, expected to be mostly cloudy at 5% humidity. And rises in the afternoon to 33 degrees Celsius, expected to be partly cloudy. And then it drops in the evening to 26 significantly degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. And overnight, it drops by 2 degrees Celsius down to 24 degrees Celsius, expected to remain cloudy at 3% humidity in Ekiti Southwest today.
All right, a move to the north central, and we'll take this one from the largest state in Nigeria, and that is Suleja in Niger State. As it stands, weather in Suleja is currently at 25 degrees Celsius, but there will be an increase to 29 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy later in the morning with humidity at 1%, and by afternoon it rises further to 39 degrees Celsius. It will be sunny with zero chance of humidity right there in Suleja, Niger State. By evening, it drops to 29 degrees Celsius. The weather will be clear, and humidity goes back to 1%. And overnight, it will be partly cloudy. Weather at 25 degrees Celsius, zero chance of humidity right there in Suleja, Niger State today.
And from Niger State now to Kano State. Kano State is where we land. In Kano State, the weather in Kano is quite different from what we have, of course, in Niger State as we have it there. But of course, we'll just take, okay, yeah, I guess we can switch to Maiduguri. That's in Borno State at 22 degrees Celsius. That's what the weather feels like. And in the morning, it starts at 32 degrees Celsius. Expect to be very sunny right there. It remains mostly sunny, rising in the afternoon to 38 degrees Celsius, about 5 or 6 degrees Celsius increase. And it's expected to be mostly sunny. And overnight, no, evening, it drops by 10 degrees Celsius. That's whooping, a significant 10 degree sharp drop to become mostly clear. And the weather remain clear overnight at 23 degrees Celsius overnight in Maiduguri, Borno State today.
All right, still in the north central, we'll take this one from the FCT, and that is talking about Abuja in the Federal Capital Territory. Right now in Abuja, weather currently feels like 25 degrees Celsius. But later in the morning, it rises to 29 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy with humidity at 1%. And it will rise further to 35 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. It will be sunny right there with zero chance of humidity. And by evening, there will be a sharp drop to 29 degrees Celsius. The weather will be clear, and humidity will be at 0%. And overnight, it drops further to 25 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy with humidity at 1% right there in Abuja today.
And from Abuja now to Kano that I wanted to go before. Kano Municipal is fair at 21 degrees Celsius across board in Kano, and later in the morning it will be at 29 degrees Celsius. Expect to be partly cloudy, no chance of humidity, no chance of rain perhaps in that region. Afternoon it rises to 36 degrees Celsius, about 7 degrees Celsius rise to become partly cloudy, and it drops significantly about 9 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius in the evening to be clear, and then overnight it drops much further by 7 degrees Celsius again to become 20 degrees Celsius to be partly cloudy in Kano Municipal, Kano State today.
All right, I think that will be all we can take on weather reports this morning. We say thank you for being a part of the show so far. It has been an amazing morning, and of course, do also link up with us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. You can watch us live on our website at www.dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast. Our Facebook page is at Dominion Broadcast Television. Of course, drop your comment there. We'll take them before the show runs out. All right, it is time to go on a quick break. When we return, we'll take the news. We'll be back.
Hello and welcome to Daybreak News on Dominion Television. My name is Anoluwapo Idowu. President Bola Tinubu has sworn in Taiwo Oyedele as the new Minister of State for Finance. The ceremony took place at the President's office inside the Aso Rock Presidential Villa in Abuja. Oyedele's inauguration comes 5 days after the Senate confirmed his nomination. Lawmakers approved the appointment through a voice vote, following an extensive screening session that lasted more than 2 hours. Senate President Godswill Akpabio announced the confirmation after the members of the Committee of the Whole adopted the committee's recommendation, clearing the way for Oyedele to assume office. The federal government has said it is committed to protecting Nigerians' rights and privacy in the digital space by strengthening cybersecurity across the country. This was disclosed in an interview by the Assistant Director in the Cybersecurity Department at the National Orientation Information Technology Development Agency, Dr. Ayodele Bakari, in Abuja. Bakari also revealed that the agency is finalizing a new information security regulation that will soon be released to guide organizations and individuals on safeguarding information and digital assets. Several passengers have sustained injuries after a train operating on the Abuja to Kaduna rail corridor was involved in an accident that forced the journey to stop midway. In a statement signed by Director of Public Affairs and Family Assistance at the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, Funke Arowojobe, the Bureau confirmed that it has launched an investigation into the incident involving the passenger train on the Rigasa to Idu rail corridor. The train, which departed Kaduna for Abuja, could not complete its trip following the disruption along the busy road linking the Federal Capital Territory with Kaduna State. The Oyo State Police Command has arrested 4 suspects in connection with cattle rustling in Ado-Awaye in the Seyin local government area of the state. The developments was confirmed in a statement by the Police Public Relations Officer Olayinka Anyolade in Ibadan. Anyolade identified 2 of the suspects as Shekoni Wale, a 30-year-old driver of the bus, and Jimo Tohib, aged 25, who works as a motorboy. He said that further investigations led police operatives to Maya Town in the Lanlate area, where the alleged mastermind Moshood Abdullahi, aged 38, was arrested. The police spokesperson added that Abdullahi's arrest led to the capture of another accomplice, Matthew Cindy, aged 29. Meanwhile, the State Commissioner of Police, Femi Haruna, commended the swift response of officers and local security partners, noting that their efforts helped foil the crime and recover the stolen livestock. The Oyo State Police Command has launched a police campaign against cultism and other vices, Bukakov, as part of efforts to tackle social vices among secondary school students. The initiative is designed to sensitize youth on the dangers of cultism, drug abuse, cybercrime, theft, and other acts of indiscipline. Taiwo Olanrewaju completes the report.
The Oyo State Police Command has launched the police campaign against cultism and other vices, Pokakov, to curb cultism, drug abuse, cybercrime, theft, and other social vices among secondary school students. Speaking at the event, the Deputy Commissioner of Police, who represented the Commissioner of Police in Oyo State, DCP Abiodun Onoa, described education as a key to tool for reorienting students, noting that the campaign is intended to bring about a cultural shift and urge parents and guardians to support the efforts.
To launch a decisive police campaign against cultism and other vices, Prokakov. The reality we face, let's be honest, their law of belonging or promise of protection is often how cultism begins. But we know the reality is far different, because what starts as secret handshake ends in fear and intimidation that replaces peace with constant anxiety. Blatant minds have been traded for violence and regret, thereby leading to wasted potentials, while many parents have lost their children to cycles of senseless conflict as a result of cult clashes. Beyond cultism, we are also addressing the other vices, such as drug abuse, cybercrime, harassment, thuggery, theft, and other related criminal activities that are eroding the foundation of our character and our community.
Also speaking, the Coca-Cola coordinator, ASP Aishat Mary, explained that the program was introduced to address youth involvement in crime, adding that sustained collaboration will ensure its success across Nigeria.
As a state coordinator, we are set to go about to all the schools, both secondary school and the tertiary institutions, and marketplaces, worship center, to sensitize people about this program, campaign against police campaign against cultism and other vices. So we have highlighted some areas that we'll be visiting, both the rural and the urban area.
The campaign is expected to help reduce indiscipline and crime among secondary school students in Oyo State. Taiwo Olanrewaju, reporting for Dominion News.
Women leaders, professionals, and entrepreneurs gathered for the Big Conversation Conference 2026. The conference, organized by Dominion Broadcast Group, brought together participants from different sectors to discuss issues affecting women in society. Taiwo Olanrewaju completes the report.
Women leaders, professionals, and entrepreneurs have gathered for the 2026 Big Conversation Conference aimed at empowering women and supporting small businesses. The event, organized by Dominion Broadcast Group as an extension of its television program, The Big Conversation, brought together participants from different sectors to discuss issues affecting women in society, careers, relationships, and entrepreneurship. Speaking at the conference, the general manager of television at Dominion Broadcast Group and co-host of the program, Ronkegiwa Onofua, said the initiative was designed to move conversations behind the studio by creating opportunities for women to connect.
We begin to ask better questions about our lives, not who's looking, who's wearing what. We're asking questions that are really empowering us. We ask questions about our careers, our lives, our relationships, and even our culture. And that is exactly what the Big Conversation is all about. So today we'll have conversations about identity, about relationships, about culture, about confidence, and about careers and visibility.
Share experiences and build meaningful networks. In her keynote address, Dr. Adekemi Felicia Okpatunde encouraged participants to translate meaningful conversations into actions.
There's need for follow-up. There's need to continue to seek for the people that you've empowered to put back into the society, not just the physical, but by way of training and retraining, and encouraging more women to be intentional, to be courageous, to be themselves, to be in their original form, to be authentic.
The chairperson of the Nigerian Association of Women Journalists, Oyo State Chapter, Omolola Alamu, described the conference as a commendable initiative that
Here today is a chat for women in the society. It brings women together to see how they're faring in their businesses, in their own world. This is a very big event, and I pray it will continue.
A major highlight of the event was the emergence of Adebisi Okpeyemi Aminat as winner of the business grant pitch competition.
Excited, and this 250,000 naira grant will help me to position my brand into getting a new branded packaging that is NAFDAC compliant, so that we can get our products in the shelves of supermarkets nearby you.
Organizers say plans are underway to make the conference an annual event and expand it to other cities. Taiwo Olanrewaju, reporting for Dominion News.
You're still watching Daybreak News, and now to business. Nigeria's inflation rate is to 15.06% in February 2026, down from 15.10% in January. The National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) disclosed this in its February Consumer Price Index and Inflation Report. According to the NBS, the country's headline inflation declined by 0.04 percentage points on a month-to-month basis. However, food inflation rose to 12.1% in February from 8.8% the previous month. The financial derivatives company FDC had earlier forecasted that February's headline inflation would drop to 14.07%. And now in sports, the Nigerian National League (NNL) has announced the date and venue for the 2025-2026 Super 4 tournament. The tournament will run from 1st to 8th of May 2026 at the Remo Stars Stadium in Ikenne. The Super 4 tournament will determine the overall winner of the league season following the completion of the league campaign. The format differs from previous seasons when the Super 8 tournament was used to determine promotion to the NNL Nigeria Football League. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcaster next at Dominion Cast. And that ends Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I am Anoluakbo Ido. Thank you for watching.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live like never before? Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast.
The president is about to get on a trip, and it's a trip that is not just for maybe personal issues. It's actually for democratic, or should we say, bilateral cooperation or agreement, or whatever you want to call it. But it's a state visit to the United Kingdom, of course, King Charles III. And then, a lot of persons at that level will be meeting with the president to discuss issues. Of course, it's going to be a banquet as well. So, exactly the point. My point is, let it not just be a banquet, but let it rather be a feast of reason where we can have conversations and communications that would really help the nation going forward. And exactly that's the point. People are saying, what should be on the table of discourse? What should be the menu? What should be on the menu? What should not be? Some have said we need good leadership. Others have said, what we need right now is peace. But a lot of things are really up for grabs, especially as regards this particular state visit to the UK. But every eyes is on the president, is on the UK government, and perhaps King Charles as well, to say what would become of this. Remember, this is the fourth time the Nigerian president would have to visit for state visits. Others have been at Buckingham Palace, but this is at Windsor Castle this time around. It's supposed to be a conversation that would help the country, especially now that the country has been in what it is. Some have said particular concern, but whatever the case is, Nigeria needs help, needs bilateral cooperation and agreement to really go forward. And exactly that's the story. So yes, the UK visit has been on the lips of many Nigerians, but we'll take the conversation right from here. This one is on almost every newspaper that you can find this one. Of course, this is the newspaper headlines and analysis segment of the program, Daybreak Live. Now we check into the print, bring stories of making the rounds, high point, low points, and that we get the points as much as we can across the newspapers this morning. But I won't do this alone. I have with me Mr. Oluwashim. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's always good to have you in the studio. Yeah, so let's talk. Of course, I know you. Of course, you're an aviation expert too, so you probably know how all of the arrangements will be. I think just a few days ago, the Windsor Castle said there would not be flights over some places. They actually barricaded some places because of this visit. Perhaps to talk about how important...
Because of security.
Exactly. How important that particular conversation is. Yesterday, there was also in the news that the federal government came out to say they've got a plan by a particular business organization that is about to disgrace the president. That came out in the news to say there was a fracas between the federal government and that particular business line, and they're trying to do that as soon as the president reaches the UK. But yes, that's another conversation. But many persons have said there are many things we need to ask the UK government for. But if we can really do a bit of solutions journalism, perhaps if the president's information and strategy officer is here, maybe Bayo Onanuga, maybe they can get something to say, you know what, these are one of the things we should put on the table, on the menu at that state banquet. So what exactly do you think, from your own judgment, from your own prescription, and how that you've been in the country for so long a time, right? So you might want to help us. What do you think should be on the table of discourse?
Thanks, Mr. Anu. Number one thing that I will expect in terms of economy and security. Let's talk about security, apparatus, how well the UK can get to help us concerning the security state of things. Then economy. The bilateral should not only be just talk about having banquets and all this stuff. Let it be a sort of solution gathering issues. What do we actually need? We need insecurity to be checked. We need our economy to be checked. So any other thing that I think or that we think will help our nation, our sovereignty. And of course, we're a Commonwealth country. We are a Commonwealth country. And so I think in this vein, the UK have a sort of coverage to offer to Nigeria. They have this moral justification to attend to Nigeria's plight, whatever it is, because of the Commonwealth that we've shared. Now, one thing is not just the banquet that really matters. Bilateral relations of UK and Nigeria has not been under strain anyway. So we can expect it to be much more fine-tuned with something like this, through something like this. So we can use it to the best of our advantage. If Bayo Ononuga and the other stakeholders that are following the president on this trip can just kind of pinpoint the exact things that might be of help to our sovereignty at this present moment in time.
Mr. Sorry. I'll still get back. You still get back to make your point, but I needed to ask this too. There's been conversations about the 1914 amalgamation.
Amalgamation.
Yes. So if there was anybody that was in the know as to how that happened, I think it's the UK government. Perhaps should we say the Queen, the former Queen, who was Queen Elizabeth, who passed on, right? So some are saying that why don't we have that conversation too of disintegrating the country?
That would be a very, very, very serious and interesting one.
Some people are calling for it.
Now,
that's why it justifies the question.
I know the kind of people that can call for it. That let's revisit the amalgamation. But is this the right moment to discuss that?
It's 112 years from amalgamation.
Are we now saying, let us discuss it and see way out of this unholy marriage, or what do we want to call it? This marriage of inconvenience that we've gotten ourselves into. How can we disintegrate? That is what we're actually saying. But mind you, the present at the ends of things won't by now be placing that on the table of the UK. They want to do that. Do you understand? So, of course, these are some of the things that some activists we want to bring up. But let me put it to them. If it were to be them, some people will loathfully ask for it. But is it the right cause?
Well, let me ask you. I'm pushing it forward.
It's not the right cause.
So it should not be a conversation at all.
It won't come up.
When can it come up? No, I'm not speaking in proxy for these people. I'm not holding briefs for them. I'm just asking because there are a lot of questions on the table to say, if we have not gotten it right 112 years after, so what then are we doing together?
Even if we want to look at the word secession, it will come at the table of the UK. It's going to be considered by us. Let's have this talk first, then let's throw it to our masters. Now we are saying what it seems they want us to do now is, oh yeah, go and bring out our file. Let's take a look at it once again. Then mind you, when the file were being signed, when it was being arranged, who were there then? Are they still around? Are they still around? No, they are not around. So what was the ideology behind the amalgamation that they taught in the first place? Now we are here thinking that ideology no longer works for us. Let's take a look at it and break it even. Is that what we are now saying? But no just president, in its right sense, we say, oh, I'm going to the UK too, and one of the things we are going to discuss is the amalgamation of 1914. Is it possible for us to discuss, to dissolve it, or to strengthen it? By the way, if it's about strengthening it, I think it's better. But dissolving it, is that head off? That wouldn't be head off.
All right, let's take it further now. There's a story on the Punch newspaper this morning that says, federal government activates evacuation plan as Middle East crisis worsens. There are many things we can talk about in the Middle East, particularly now. I think, remember the last time we had the conversation, the presidency said, people have not, they have not seen willing people. Yeah, but if there's any willing person who would like to willfully come back, they are ready to take. Back home. So that's exactly the case. They have come out to say, you know what, we're ready to start the evacuation plan because the crisis is getting worse every day. But maybe just to align some other stories, especially as we have a break in the Middle East, that's some EU members, European Union, are rejecting Trump's demand for help. That is just also to put alongside, a lot of people are saying, no, Trump is saying now that he's wanting allies to help secure the Strait of Hormuz, and elders are saying we don't want to be a part of this. So that's exactly the case. So walk us through what your opinion about this issue is. And of course, we know that the federal government's claim to say evacuation can start anytime soon is a good one, but walk us through this.
Number one, it is a very good thing. If it gets hotter than this, get out of the kitchen. It's a very good thing, very good initiative for the federal government to say, okay, let's start evacuation plans. Let's start thinking about that so that we won't be caught in the middle. So it's a very nice thing. So at the end of the day, we might see some of our countrymen actually coming back. Do you understand? But now, talking about Trump, now telling the European leaders, asking them for help, to me, isn't that too obvious that I think Pete Exit and Trump are actually trying to tell us they don't know what they've dabbled into in the first place.
But Trump is saying they're winning the war. If you see a lot of broadcasts, Trump will come out and say, yes, we are doing well. Those people, we have gotten their leaders,
They won.
Their oil.
We've won the war. They too, we are winning. Therefore now it's help us. Any European leader right now will never want to dabble into this because it's as if, and the only person I will point out this to that, come, you caused it for Trump, is Pete Exet. It seems Pete is just reading a script of something. And to me, it seems as if he thinks this is Hollywood. Way back, we used to have a Trump in this film, Home Alone. Then, Little Rascals. Then on TV, The Apprentice. I think the two of them did actually phantom that war is quite different and politics is quite different from the Hollywood big screens. You've shown your bravado. Oh, we've won. We are winning. We didn't actually get the number of missiles they have, but in the long run, we'll get to it. I promise you that. Do you actually know what you are doing at all?
I like that you're even trying to mimic Trump, and that's more like the way he talks. But let's get it.
He doesn't even know what he's doing.
Okay, so your
now
claim.
The Strait of Hormuz.
Okay.
You told us you've won. This morning I was still going through it, and you said, "Oh, all the mines have been swept." Now you want Pepe. I want Pepe to bring in his billion-dollar ship, so maybe he can handle the mines. But I don't think they have the mines. Why are you talking from both of your cheeks?
Do you think he's confused?
A very confused man.
Donald Trump is confused.
He's very, very. At this present point in time, the Strait of Hormuz, okay, he's saying ships cannot be escorted out of Hormuz. And Iran said, come and do it. Come and escort them. The only escorting you can do is on PlayStation. And you'll be able to do it on PlayStation. Now you're asking for you. You are even asking China. Who does that? Asking China, who got most of his own fuel from Iran, to come and militarily be involved with Iran for this particular Strait of Hormuz. Are you okay at all? I don't think so. Because China, that will be the best interest for China. And the first set of ships that have been escorted out of the Strait of Hormuz to Pakistan have actually paid in Chinese yuan. So you want China to now halt its own economy. Did you ever think about your own gas, your own energy in the first place before dabbling into the war? Now whatever it is they use over there has now increased to over $100 per gallon or whatever it is. People are shouting. Is that Pete Exet and Marco Rubio that are very close to the president they've not actually done their homework concerning this war of a thing. You ask them, oh, we need to strike them before they strike us. Who is striking who? We have a premonition that Iraq wants to strike us and Iran wants to strike us, so we strike them. Who struck first?
Anyway, so let's get it down to the local sect now. Yesterday there was a swearing in of Taiwo Udele And then the president gave his vote of confidence to say, you are the right man for the job. You know, we have that. And also another story is still making bounces. Inflation eases to 15.06% despite slight rise in food prices. So this sounds like a good one, especially talking economics, talking business in the country, Nigeria. And so a lot of persons are making claims that, yes, Taiwo is actually the right man for the job. But looking at the way inflation is, you know, easing off, and then food prices are on the high, how do you manage those complications?
Let me be clear with you that somebody being right for the job might be good on paper. But when it comes to the logistics and the execution of things, might not actually be in the Middle East. Energy. To propel the economy now, we need energy. Now the energy is under strength. It's being strained. Things will go back our way. So the only thing we can do to stem that is, what are we looking at inward? Or how inwardly are we looking to stem our own energy crisis? Because without that, we are still back to the starting point. Do you get it? The owners of the inflation and everything still back down to the energy crisis we are still facing. We are not putting, sooner or later we'll be putting strain on Dangote. And as a businessman, he will be forced to do the right thing. He wouldn't want to doing business at his own shortage. No. Our refineries, whether they be working, whether or not, we don't know. What is the actual state of everything? So let us, it is good for the job, but what are the constraints of the job that he will meet?
That's a question. That's a question we might put our fingers crossed and see what becomes of that. You know, of course, I would like us to take, but for want of time, maybe just a few words in a few seconds about the Maiduguri bombing. There was a bomb blast that just happened, and of course, they are still counting the losses. And of course, this is not a new thing, but it's a far cry from what Nigerians are expecting. Just your few thoughts on this.
That's one of the first things that we first discussed. Going to the UK for the summit or for the banquet or whatever, number one issue to discuss should be our security. That is the most important thing. Now, concerning the bombing, it could have been orchestrated by any set of splinter cells, but not at this present time. We don't need that. Just 3 or 4 days ago, the army went Gonshe, or what was the name, to suppress things, because the insurgency said, oh, by Salah, we'll be coming over, Boko Haram will be coming over to have our Eid prayers at a particular community, and the military is on ground now. Now, one thing is, whether we have to focus on Ibadan, focus on other places too. You've been to Shonge or whatever. What about other places that will be left open? So we need to get proactive. Of course, we can expect it to happen at Dugbe, and it's happening at Felele or somewhere. But let us spread our tentacles. The Eid is around the corner. Let's know how to protect our people. This is the time for protection. I'm telling you, this is the time we have to go all out in protecting lives because of the celebration around the corner.
Around the corner.
So it's time for us to get proactive towards that.
Yes, I really want to say thank you for joining us in the studio today.
Thanks for having me.
And of course, to now switch focus to defection politics. So many things happening in the world of politics in Nigeria. But of course, that will be shortly after this break. So Samson Balogun will take us through a lot of that.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Casts. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice. On 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Casts. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Politics, they say, is a game of numbers. But more importantly, it is a game of loyalty, timing, and power. In Nigeria today, the political landscape is shifting rapidly as waves of defections continue to reshape party structures, especially within the ruling party, the APC. Old alliances are being tested, new power blocks are emerging, and beneath it all, a quiet struggle is unfolding. But as new entrants flood the party, one question stands tall. What happens to those who built the structure from the ground up? That's why we chose this topic, defection politics. Will long-standing APC members lose out to new power brokers? Of course, joining us on this one is Honorable Omolaja Holaoye and Afolabi Afolami. And Samson Balogun is my name. Recent defections into the APC may signal growth, but they have also stirred muted tensions within the party. Long-standing members who labored to build its foundation now watch as former rivals are welcomed and in some cases quickly elevated. This raises concerns about loyalty, fairness, and internal balance. If those who held the party together begin to feel sidelined, it could trigger discontent, weaken grassroots structure, and even spark internal division. This challenge is not new in the APC. This challenge for the APC is clear. Expand politically without alienating its core base. Because a party's greatest threat often comes not from opposition, but from within. And will that sink the ship? Is a very big question this morning. And that is why we have two seasoned analysts in the studio this morning. I have with me Afolabi, who joins us with his wealth of experience in the political monitoring across Nigeria, and an APC chieftain, Honorable Omolaja Olaoye, also a seasoned political analyst. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Samson. Good to be here.
Good morning to you, Samson. It's nice to be here, and good morning to you, viewer at home, for listening and watching us.
Let's talk about the All Progressives Congress. As a story drops, it keeps developing. We are now seeing new alliances. And to avoid a repeat of what we saw in Oyo State in 2019, and of course in 2023, what should the APC do differently? However, a lot is going on. Even those who were never thought to be joining, to think they would join the APC, some of them are already in the APC, and some of them are even packing their bags. Most notably, there was a story that broke the day before yesterday, that there is a likelihood that one of the strongest PDP governors, in person of Bala Mohammed, might even join the party today. So, if he joins the party, what happens to Seyi Makinde of Oyo State? That's a very big question. So, when Seyi Makinde was made the chairman of the Governors Forum, there were about 13 governors in the PDP. And as we speak today, they have just 2. And that is only the chairman and the vice chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, which is Seyi Makinde and Bala Mohammed of Bauchi. There's a lot to unpack on this one. But I will start with Honorable Omolaja Olaoye. This is your political party. And you have seen things unfold since the AD of then metamorphosed into the APC of today. A lot has happened. There were internal crises, but your party sorted it out. But another one is looming. How do you intend to sort it out? If people like you, who stayed in the party, feel sidelined in the end, what will happen to your party?
Thank you very much, Samson. It's a very good question, and this is a very good topic today. I need to inform you that APC have been developing for a very long time. Now we are growing. We are growing stronger and stronger. Like the question you ask, what is going to be my fate if new intakes comes to the party? One thing about life is it's only the fittest that survives. Party is being built. Party is being established constitutionally. And it allows for you not to debar anybody from joining the political party. We must have freedom of association. That is why, and the beautiful things in life is that when you don't see challenges, you don't know how to grow. You are not going to think about how even you are going to grow. By the time party politics mustn't be, it is my own. When you keep saying it's your own, that means you are going to be left alone and you are not going to grow at all. You are not going to develop at all. You need new faces, you need new heads, you need new brains, people that can be able to contribute.
What if the new entrants are stronger than you?
Yes,
and they sweep you aside. What will happen? You are going to the camp to Accord Party just like you did the last time.
If you monitor what is going on in our state right now, we have seen a situation where new intakes took over the party. And they make sure they sideline those who have been in the party for a very long time.
That is Jagba tactics.
That is Jagba tactics. And what is unfolding right now? Because when those who has been sidelined and pushed out came back, they become stronger and stronger. And people can be able to compare the one who did Jagba and those who are coming. Because the mentality of mobilization is always different. That is for you to know. If I stay in a place, if I say it is my own, I'm not going to allow anybody, that means I'm not going to grow. We have seen what is happening in PDP. We are bad. Even the founding fathers, who are the PDP members, has been hijacked by some egocentric or probably people who are so selfish. And we know what is going on right now when you are talking about. So for me, it is when you are talking about political party, crises make political party because everybody with different interests. And when you are having diverse interests, that means there are going to be collision. You are going to have some misunderstanding and disgruntled, and which is normal. And at the end of the day, I believe you have to solve.
Okay, we'll come back to crisis. Okay, we'll still talk about crisis in your political party. But let me come back to Afolabi. The current girl of defection into the APC, is that a show of strength? Or is just another deep political opportunism being played?
Well, to me, it's not a show of strength. It's a show of deep opportunity being played here. When you talk about the APC and the bringing in of anybody into the party, is one, I know that the APC before the last regime of Muhammadu Buhari has intention of killing the existing party, which is the major opposition party, the PDP. Yes, the members of PDP also contributed to the death of their party. They contributed to
their own downfall.
To their own downfall. I will continue saying it. They contributed to the death of their party.
So if you say the PDP is down, is the PDP out? Technically,
they are the one that brought down the house. They are the one that killed the house. They slaughtered their goats, and then you see that is one thing that they gave room for APC to actually actualize, carried out. But for the APC, when you talk about bringing is it a strength? It's not a strength. Because they just want the members to come in.
Is the APC afraid of the next election?
That is obvious. We don't need to look at Adamawa State. Fintiri the camp into the party and the entire cabinet dissolved into APC. Fintiri as a governor, existing governor, and many of his cabinet members won't go to APC and go and line up, start from the back. It's not possible. What the existing political party, the APC that they dissolve into, will give room for them to come in. And that is why we talk about ideology.
Contest.
Yes. And that is why we talk about ideology. If it is the ideology, it means it should that after dissolving, those they met in the party, they should be the one to determine their fate. But in this case, they will look at their strengths. They will look at their political, their financial strength, their political strength, their financial strength. They also look at how much they've been able to gather. You look at the APC in Adamawa State, go to other states, go to like another state like the, which other state is that in the east, even in Cross River, that we have the PDP governorship that does the camp dissolve into APC. You know, that tells you that the bringing in of these people into the party is not as a result of building a particular strength, but gathering momentum, just making it the larger the merrier. The more the merrier, bringing people in so that they can win the election and showcase that if we have 33 governors, there is no way we would have not won the election. With our 33 governors, even when the ballot is shaking, the statistic will tell you that, well, with these 33 governors, if we are not going to win at all, 27 is sure.
Okay. Honorable Molaja, let me ask you this. How should the party balance the scale when it comes to rewarding loyal members and accommodating new ones?
Yeah, that is, thank God, we have what you are calling about, is either it is going to be direct primary or it's going to be consensus. And Constitution spell it out. It's well embedded in the Constitution that whenever there is going to be election, people must be given a chance to collect form, to be representative, or so it is not that the form being given is going to be for one candidate. People that have interest must be able to seek their interest, and you must be able to give it to them. So, and the last dispensation, when you are talking about PMB, it's really stipulated. I mean, what is in the electoral bill was that even if you want to even if you are going to have a consensus, all those who seek to be elected must come out and say it loudly. And it was practiced in APC. So now, see what is happening in a place like Delta State. They are going to share it. When you are talking about Bala Mohammed was given, that he was told that he's not going to have a successor Don't think you are going to have a so. Even if you are going to divide it, it's going to be 40-60. It is made to be known to him. So, like what he was saying before, my dear friend was saying that it is not show of strength. It is because you are talking about people who want to survive. Everybody wants to survive. You think about survival first before you can have a principle, and you think you can have a principle, a policy. Now, there is nothing that's happening in Nigeria that has never happened in a place like UK. The time of Ken Livingstone, when he was popular within the Labour Party, he was denied the ticket or mayoral ticket in London. And he knew that his interest is not going to be protected. He opted out to be an independent candidate. And he was elected. We saw how Trump moved from one party to the other. At the end of the day, you are talking about interest. We have to talk about interest, even if you are going to realize your ambition and you are going to be able to give back to the society what you are going to think about your interest for. All of them are thinking about their interest. Look at Lawal of Zamfara State. He doesn't want to come to APC, despite the fact that he was one of the candidates in APC before. He's trying to be proud, but at the end of the day, his people, that is for you to know that there are some people who are not selfish. He talked about all his followers who have interest in one thing or the other, and he have to follow their wishes. And when the decampment happened, it was not the one that announced his decampment, it was the deputy. People think about survival first before policy and...
Okay, Afolabi. Let's now look at the new Electoral Act and what it says about all of this. The new 2026 Electoral Act upheld what was in the 2022 Electoral Act as signed by the president, meaning that you lose a primary election in a party, you cannot go to another political party.
To contest.
You definitely have to stay in your political party. The only problem is that you can stay in the party and work against your political party. Now, as it stands, doesn't mean that the presidency or maybe the APC and everyone involved thought about all of this before this new Electoral Act was brought forward. That yes, we know there's going to be crisis after primary elections, and there might be court cases. Yes. So, let's go for direct primaries, or maybe in some cases consensus. So when we have a consensus, obviously we have conducted our primaries. You cannot go anywhere. You still have to stay in the party. But what about the looming crisis that could happen before the election, when the candidate stays in the party and works against his own political party?
That is a typical example is that of the 2023 election. After the primaries in the APC, and we saw the birth of Accord in Oyo State. And that exactly killed their party aims and objectives, and also the ambition. And you look at that as a reason behind this new policy. But the truth of the matter, like you have said, is that even when this person lost out in the primary or the consensus, because even when you talk about consensus, you leave the hope of who become the president, the governor, the House of Assembly member or Senate into the hand of the elders, who will think that, okay, if you have to do this permutation, this person his life is having a likelihood of winning in this region or in this area than this other person. And the other person that they are thinking of eliminating or not giving the chance has will be having some bitter feelings. Such bitter feelings will affect the growth and the actualization of the party in winning their election. And that is why they felt that it would be good we guide this before the final election, so that that person will have no aim of leaving the party. He will stay put, he will just be there. Even though he's there, he's not happy. Yes, that again is to me, it's not a good development, because I felt that it would have been good that we allow everybody to be free to join an association even after being defeated. Like my brother said about the London cases that he cited. When the guy felt that he could not win in this party, he left for another new party and become an independent candidate. And he won. And so if that can just be allowed here, it will show that, yes, that is where we can now talk about the strength in the party. And, you know, the birth of Accord started when PDP was going too bigger for the party to condone, to correct, and to also, accommodate. And the man in affair then said, okay, if that is the case, let's form a new party where you can go and show your strength, where you can determine what your fate is, where you can put your followers, and then show us if you can win an election. and that was what gave birth to Accord. But right now, even the consensus, that is where I'm going to have a problem with the new law. The consensus is determining the new local government state primaries that the convention that they are doing. In most cases, there was no Congress. There was no Congress in APC. It was done by consensus. Many people are you just see them announcing this name, as a result of somebody putting up this name. There was no primary. And we have seen the result of that primaries in many cases. It happens in Ondo State. It happens in Ogun State. The one in Oyo State was able to be monitored or condoned or put together because of the people behind the camera who felt that they shouldn't hear about our name. We shouldn't just wash our dirty hands in the public. We should do this so that they are the one preparing to come to power. So they are doing everything to make sure that the party's dirty hands is not watching the public. But the truth of the matter is that some people are still angry. Some people are not very happy with the way the consensus was done. But I want to tell you, it would have been better that somebody is living while he's not being accommodated in a party into a new party to go and show his strength. That was what gives room to democracy. It strengthened the democracy. It gives people the opportunity and options to determine. Because if you say that this person lost and will stay put and his follower will not be happy, it may not give us a good
kind of politics.
Yes, and a good result in our election, in our voting system. Like people who have lost, who does
able to move to another. Now, Honorable Omolaja, let's talk about the legal implication of all of this, and what role the judiciary play in this. Now, basically, the pre-primary defection strategy that is most common is that you leave your party before the primaries is conducted and you feel like you don't have a chance. You leave your party before primaries and then you go to another political party to show your strength there. Contest, if you win, yes, so be it. And then, after joining that party, you can, of course, if you can win the primaries, fine. If you can't, maybe you can return to your political party in peace and work with them and see what you gain at the end of the day. But then, there were some controversial and court-driven cases in history. And let's start with Godwin Obaseki in 2020 in Edo State. He was disqualified by the APC. And before the election, he moved to the PDP, contested the primary. Well, some said it was given to him on a platter because they knew he was the sitting governor. But eventually he won. And that was when the slang Edono came to play. And also, let's talk about Doye Diri of Bayelsa. Court also played a role because someone else won an election. And that was David Leon at the time. That was same 2020. And unfortunately, because the deputy had a different name on his documents and was not properly written, they were kicked out of office a day to swear in. And then Doye Diri was made the governor of Bayelsa State. Now, we have seen this happen in so many situations. Multiple cases of courts interfering and then muddling everything up. Now, what should the federal government do to make sure that even before the election, all court cases are done and dusted?
Unfortunately, it cannot be done, but let me refer to him when he was talking about our just concluded state local government world congresses. When you don't hear crisis, it doesn't mean we don't have, there are going to be disagreement. Because people with different interests are the one that comes together. But at the end of the day, we are just starting a new beginning. If we are fighting, if we are killing ourselves, we are happy. We did it, and it has gone, whether you like it or not. And that for you to know that the consensus we did, it goes as we wanted. Now, when you are now talking about all the legal issues, you must know that why Electoral Act was removed from the Constitution, because whatever, anything in Electoral Act that is not just subject to the Constitution of Nigeria is not and void. Everything in Electoral Act must be intended with Nigerian Constitution. But they knew a lot of things is changeable. Because with advancement we are having, it's not the way we have advancement in 1979. The advancement we have in 1999 or 1993 or 1992 wasn't the way it was in 2026. Sure. That is why a lot of things is subject to change. That is why we have Electoral Act. For any mistake we have made, we saw what happened in Kogi State when a governor died prior to the time he was going to be sworn in.
Abubakar Audu.
Yeah. That is why we knew in a place like Borno State, a governorship aspirant was killed during the campaign. All these were not in past electoral act. That is why a new thing has to be coming to enforce. That is why we have a lot of
there will
laws
be precedents.
Yes,
the law will define what will happen.
Now, what is going to happen probably 1930, 31 or 1930 is not going to be different from, because now they knew when Labour was fighting for his, challenging President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The name of Obi was not in Labour's membership registration. But now they were compelled that it must be digital. So it cannot be, somebody cannot just cook a book and say he has registered his name or not. And in Nigerian constitution, it is illegal and it's criminal for you to have registered into a political party. There must be time frame. You are free to leave political party.
There has to be a public declaration that you are leaving that party.
Yes. But especially you do it within 24 hours, it's not allowed. They are making our constitution to be functioning. You are talking about those who are going to be within the party and work against the party. In a place like United States of America and in the UK, we have seen those who are against Boris Johnson. When you are talking about business exits, all those MPs, what they lose, they were not returned back to the parliament again. That is for you to know that the whips that we have in the constitution, the party whips, is not working. In a place like United States of America, we see what happened with Marjorie Taylor, the representative of Florida, when he was attacking Donald Trump. She resigned because she knew that during the midterm or whatever they are going to contest, he's going to lose the election because party whips, because he has spoken against the authority of the party. Now, we must leave things to work. Things are now working in Nigeria. For you to know that we don't even need to go to court anymore.
So do we now have a political system?
We are having a
functioning political system.
They have compelled the political party to make sure they vet the certificate of the members. And that certificate of members will be in a public domain. When they are being screened, that is why you see what happened in the National Assembly, whereby they said that if you cannot remove any political officer that when he has been elected, if you don't do that before the election. So, and for you to know that by the time you want to contest the election, all your certificates must have been placed in INEC.
Be in the public domain.
It's going to be in public domain. Why can't you challenge that before the election? But after the election, it is in bad faith for you to know Nigeria is now working. All those that are changing this electoral law and electoral system, they know what they are doing. And mind you, sometimes a lot of them are doing it in bad faith as well, and which is good for the populace. You remember during the time of Jonathan, about 100 and something bills were passed by when probably about 70 or 80% of members are not going to they knew they are not going to be returned, and they make sure that all those laws were passed, and Jonathan has to sign. They knew that if Jonathan didn't sign it, it's going to be said through, because they have that power to veto any law being passed. So let's wait and see how Nigeria is getting better, I believe. Okay. When you are talking about electoral system,
we'll still talk about Nigeria getting better, but unfortunately we don't have the time. But Afolabi, this gale of defection to Nigerians at home, okay, will this be more or less like desperation, or what would Nigerians be saying at this time?
Well, when you talk about desperation, it's a means from the APC end.
Do you trust desperate people?
I don't. When you talk about people that are desperate, they are not. They don't to be trusted.
Is the APC desperate?
Well, that's in quotes.
Will you trust the APC?
My brother, is it when you talk about the APC? Well, let us look let's look at their past presidents, what they've been able to achieve in the past. For me personally, my own opinion, I'm not trusting the APC. I won't for now until I'm being convinced enough to say that it is a party everybody can be happy with, and a party that is giving birth to what we give back to Nigeria.
Does the APC have the internal mechanism to weather the storm that just blew the PDP away?
Well, time will tell. PDP has been in their shoe before. They also gathered many people to join them. and they became more
They
stronger.
ruled for 16 years.
Yes, and they ruled for 16 years. They became bigger.
APC on the way to 12.
Well, that is it.
Will it get to 16?
That is another big question there. You see, when you talk about the present situation in APC, it's not new to Nigerians. We've seen it before. 2007, it was like that when everybody has to join PDP. You know, that was Atiku Obasanjo 2003. Everybody was joining. And not only for the Southwest that the AD metamorphosed into ACN into ACN into APC. And I want to tell you that what we are experiencing right now, to me, is not something that will last long in the APC. Because the APC can be able to do that under the power of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is a strategist, who understands politics better than any other person in Nigeria presently, and who has been in the politics house for so long. Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been in the politics house as far as 1992, has having been a senator and becoming a governor and fielding in constituent governors in Lagos State and in Senate in all over the country. He has sponsored even in the north, and we saw the likes of Faleke, Abubakar Audu. Before Abubakar Audu died, we know what happened.
And even Faleke went to contest.
Yes, Faleke went to contest, and Faleke was from Lagos, was an honorable from Lagos. So that tells you how powerful Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been.
Yayi is now in Ogun.
Yayi
is senator. Ogun West,
Lagos West, Ogun West. So that tells you who Bola Ahmed Tinubu is. He wants to be there. And I want to tell you, after him, if there is nobody to succeed his kind of politics, his kind of strength, his kind of thinking, and that was weird. Because after Bola Ahmed Tinubu governorship in Lagos, we have Raji Fashola, and we have many other people who have become governor after him that could not be able to sustain his kind of leadership style. You know, we talk about Ombode, you talk about Raji Fashola. Where is Fashola today? People said that he has become, even when he was the minister under Mohamed Buhari, there was nothing much that he could
go back to his chamber.
He couldn't lead like Bola Ahmed Tinubu was, and that is where I foresee a decline in the party immediately Bola Ahmed Tinubu is out of the presidency. But to now see this party gathering momentum to talk about strength or desperation, I want to believe that to say it's desperation is an understatement, but I see them wanting to lead the country and rule the country in a manner at which they will be at every corner and it will be difficult for people to make another choice.
Okay, all right, APC trying to plant their roots across the country. In 1 minute, Honorable Mola Jawlawi, we have to go. Our time is fast spent. What would you say to your political party now? And what lessons do you think they should take away from the current crisis befalling the PDP in Nigeria?
You see, the problem is that when people don't learn, he was talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yes, he's not God, but he has done a lot because he's tolerant, and there's nothing wrong being tolerant. That is why he has able to sustain it so long. He has a lot of crises from different angles, and he tolerates them. That is what the opposition lacks. And when the opposition lacked this, we saw what happened during the time of Baba Obasanjo and Atiku Abubakar, whereby Atiku Abubakar seized all the power and the machinery of the party, and Baba has to plead and prostrated before he got the second ticket, and he made sure he punished him. Now, in Nigeria, we must be able to be tolerant. What they refuse, like in PDP, Wiki has been telling them, call me to the table, let's discuss this together. That is what they are now doing. Because the system is now is there, and you cannot be all in all. If we people right now shows his strength, show the kind of people he is, and giving people templates, let's leave it. When it gets to the bridge, you are going to concentrate. But for now, APC is working stronger, and they are good enough field, and they are not desperate. It's others that comes to APC that are desperate. Now, we are going to see what is going to happen in 2027.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on this morning. It has been a wonderful session with you both, and we do hope that Nigeria keeps getting better.
Yeah.
Just like Omola Jawlawi, he says Nigeria is getting better.
Amen.
We do hope that it continues to get better. So, as the APC continues to grow, the real test may not be in attracting new members, but in managing those who have always been there. So, will loyalty still matter, or will political convenience take the lead? And what does this mean for the party's future stability? Many thanks to my guest, Honorable Mola Jawlawi, and Afolabi Afolami, for sharing their insights. I am Samson Balogun. Stay informed, stay engaged, and remember, in politics, every move has consequences. Let's go on a quick break. We'll be back for Trend Watch.
For staying tuned, this is Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, and of course we are advancing the conversation, and this time around we have to see what's trending across the news platforms, across social media. Of course, the story that is trending is about Sowore, and this time around it says, Judge angrily asks Sowore's lawyer to kneel down in court, issues imprisonment threats. That's exactly how it unfolded. A judge of the Federal High Court in Abuja, Mohammed Umar, yesterday threatened to commit Marshal Abubakar, the lead defense lawyer to Sahara Reporters publisher, of course, Omoyele Sowore, for contempt. And the lawyer drew the ire of the judge when he raised his voice while making submissions in court. And Mr. Abubakar raised his voice while insisting that the date chosen by the court for the defense to open its case was not convenient for him. Definitely. So Mr. Omar then ordered Mr. Sowore's lawyer to come out of the bar of the courtroom and kneel down. So that was exactly the case that generated so many captions. Something, a court proceeding eventually became a place to kneel down.
Well, I think that can only happen in a place like Nigeria. And, in Nigeria, courtroom conduct is guided by some laws and some provisions and acts under the law. And the Constitution, which protects human dignity in Nigeria, also must be considered. The rules of professional conduct for lawyers also must be considered. And judicial ethics and decorum. Now, let's talk. If we want to talk about decorum, what did the lawyer do in the first place? But then that does not warrant or make you, make you take such decision. Yes, there can be sanctions for misconduct, but then you cannot. That for me is demeaning the person in question, and of course telling him to kneel, for me, I don't think is a good one. You see, you can actually cite a lawyer for contempt of court, but then telling that person to kneel down, I think you are taking away the lawyer's dignity, and for me, I think that's a no-no.
And
but basically, shortly before I go, that is violation of human dignity, and kneeling is seen as disregarding and not a recognized legal sanction anywhere across the world.
Perhaps, well, what's good for the goose, they say, is good for the ganja, or whichever way they said. Because you might also want to ask, what did he do to deserve that? You are a lawyer. You are a professional. You understand that there are certain things you cannot do in the court of law. If an average person comes into the court, maybe somebody who has been called to witness or something comes into the, and then stands in the dock and is saying some things or is doing anything, we can punish, we can release punishment. We can just let the person go, right? We can forgive that kind of thing. But for a professional, a lawyer in the courtroom, raising his voice against his superior, against the judge, in this case, my lord, that begs a lot of questions.
Well, let's take some comment. But before we take that comment, I think the best way to go is to, there are lawful sanctions actually, fines, contempt proceedings instituted against such person, and also reporting to the legal practitioners disciplinary committee would have been the best way to go about it. But telling him to kneel down, that's a no-no. Let's take one or two comments before we go. Okay, and that is coming from Truth Find Filter. He says if a lawyer must kneel in practice to practice law, then the justice is already on its knees. Well, people have different reasons to.
Chris says, in Nigeria, the more you stand for the truth, the more they try to force you to your knees. Literally, kudos to Marshal D.F. Abubakar for keeping his head high when the judges, they weren't fleeing the courtroom. You know, the truth was too heavy to carry.
Well, and just before we go, all this said is not to absolve the said lawyer of any wrongdoing. Okay, if you have done the wrong thing, it should be reported, and of course, there could be contempt proceedings instituted against such person. You might even lose your license for practice.
Depending on the gravity of what you did.
The offense. Okay, it is time to call it a day on today's edition of Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television. Thank you for being a part of the show so far. Don't forget to link up with us on all socials: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter at Dominion Cast. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same station, same host, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on this star. Samson Balogun is my name, but as I always say, if you see something out there, say something. Bye for now. See you tomorrow.
And of course, my name is Anolo Akpoidowo. Bye for now.